She's way out of your league, bro. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another video. Hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to having a nice weekend, whatever you've got planned. So, I thought today I wanted to just cover off, as the intro kind of hinted on, a bit of kind of relationship stuff in my book and a particular dynamic which I found quite difficult to write just because it had the potential to go a bit awkward. And that is to cover off a character who's kind of a slightly minor character, but someone who is nonetheless fairly pivotal as the book goes on. And that is a chap called Aiken Howland. Now, Aiken is the town's blacksmith where the book is set. And this is a guy who is kind of in his late 40s. He is the town's only blacksmith. So he's very much, whether he likes it or not, cornered the market. And he has quite an interesting past in the sense that he learned from his father, so it's very much a generational thing, as it sort of tended to be in medieval times, where skills were passed down through families and through generations. And he kind of became the go-to person to furnish the town with everything that it needed, from low-level and small sort of infrastructure projects to the weapons and the defensive systems and the shields and the other things that a town would need in order to protect and defend itself. And he has quite an illustrious reputation for being a very, very good blacksmith, very, very skilled, a master of his craft. And for a long time, he enjoyed a very happy marriage to his wife. Didn't have any kids. But unfortunately, his wife succumbed to illness and passed away. And this was a few years before the book is set. So when we meet Aiken, he has moved on from the grief of losing his wife, but ultimately it's something that is always sort of going to stay with him, as you might expect with anybody, with someone that close. When he lost his wife, he was racked with grief, with sadness, with anger and resentment about why it all happened, and that as can often happen, grief can consume a person, make them shut down, withdraw from the world, become very introspective, very inward looking, very inward focused, drowning in their own sort of turmoil. But Aiken decided to turn to a higher power. So he very much turned to Sol, to the creator. And he attended the Solaris, the local church, where he began to pray. And, this offered some solace. This offered some kind of connection to the spiritual for him and gave him something to turn to in times of need, something to call upon, something to seek a higher wisdom from, in a sense. What should I do with my life now? Where should I go? How am I supposed to feel about things? Everything's so empty without her. And then around that time, the town was visited upon, not physically, but in name and reputation, by the Amaron. Now, for those of you who follow my channel, the Amaron is a spiritual leader from very far away, from sort of the other side of the land where the book is set. This vast peninsula. And the Amaron is a man of faith, a messenger from Sol, believes himself to be, and someone who is espousing the idea of the restoration. The restoration being restoring the land to a time of goodness and purity and light. So that's the Amaron, and the restoration is the message. And for Aiken, I think it came at a time when he was looking for meaning. The life up to that point, the meaning he'd had in his life had been his wife, the life that they had created together. their hopes and dreams for the future. And of course, all of that lay in tatters. So now he reached out and found purpose with the Amaron, found something to believe in. Certainly didn't believe in himself anymore. He used to believe in his wife, but she's now gone. He believes in soul, like any God-fearing citizen should, but something he felt was missing, a purpose, a true purpose, a calling, if you will. So he began to subscribe to the following and the teachings of the Amaron, read some of the literature, talked to other people who would come in and out of the town. Varicel itself is set surrounded by hills and small mountain range, but there is a path in and out, only one path in and out of the town, but it intersects several important rivers and forest and trade routes. So they often get quite a lot of visitors from the barbarian lands, from the Dune lands, from the north with the Fracks, and people from the capital, mostly merchants, people like that, traders. And they would come with all of these stories about the Amaron. Oh, he can heal people with a simple touch. He spends 10 minutes with someone and their life is transformed. The tears of the Amaron, the Qsol, this medicine that is being peddled, that started to proliferate throughout the region. Varicel received its first barrel of Qsol, and they began to distribute it. And it was around that same time that he paired up with Elenor. And Elenor Webb is our tavern owner, a young woman, estranged from her father. She runs the local tavern, and she too was looking for purpose. She had suffered a great deal of loss, losing her mother in very horrific circumstances. As I say, estranged from her father, very much feeling alone. And I think when Aiken saw how she evangelized about the Amaron, how she bought into his vision for the restoration, he just saw this woman in a whole different light. Now, when I came to approach writing Aiken and his feelings for Elenor, it was quite difficult to separate what could be perceived as a romantic love that he had for her from a parental one, from a kind of affectionate love. Love has so many different aspects, so many different layers to it, so many different angles that you can approach it from and express it in different ways. And that's both the person expressing it and the target of their affections or their love. So it was a bit of a challenge. What I didn't want to do was kind of make it come off like it's this kind of lechy older man, sort of, leching after this young, beautiful, vivacious, energetic woman. It felt a bit twee. It felt a bit forced. I'm sure it happens, and I'm sure it happened. But this is a fantasy. I can do whatever I want within reason. So I very much kind of approached it. Well, look, he in a sense cares for her deeply. He's very protective of her. We see him get quite angry and depressed when he hears her or others talk about nights of passion that she might be having with other men. But I wanted to convey the fact that it wasn't kind of, I'm angry because I wish I was that man. It was more sort of, I'm angry because I know that they're not treating her with the kind of respect that I would want to treat her with if I was lucky enough to spend more time with the woman or have a connection to her. So I was very keen not to go too far with that, and I'll obviously leave you up to decide whether or not I did or I didn't when the book comes out later in the year. But fundamentally, I think part of what his feelings towards Elenor were born out of was having a connection to her through their shared devotion of the Amaron. Here was a woman who had given herself mind, body, and soul to the Amaron and to the idea of the restoration and the ideals that carried. And he he loved her for it. Not in a sexual way, barely even a romantic way, but just a kind of, we were meant to be together doing this rather than we were meant to be together in matrimony. We were meant to be together starting a family. We were meant to be together in bed. And as the story progresses, we kind of see Aiken struck by the different directions that Elenor takes when certain things happen, and her character goes through a lot of strife and struggles as to what she should do about something, or how she should react about something, or feeling like things are starting to go wrong for her. He wants to be there to support her, but he has to maintain this distance. He's this older guy, he's nearly 50, she's barely 30 years old, and she's always kind of felt a little bit, not repulsed, but a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of him having those sorts of feelings towards her. So it was quite difficult knowing how far to go with that. And that will obviously, as I am quite an immature writer, a new writer, that will come with time when I build other and develop other relationships of a similar kind in the future, which are bound to happen sooner or later. I like the idea of unrequited love, but unrequited love doesn't always have to be romantic. It can be a term of endearment, an affection, and in Aiken's case, just a connection to somebody, to this woman who suddenly believes what he believes in. She has found purpose through the restoration and the Amaron, just like he did. She has turned her life around from a moment of grief, just like he has. And no one else in the village, in Varisine, the town, no one else can possibly understand what the pair of them went through to arrive at that point where they have devoted their lives to the Amaron. And so, Aiken's journey is very much one that is perhaps has a sense of purpose, but a twinge of sadness because some of his desires remain unfulfilled up to a point. And those desires don't necessarily have to be sexual or romantic desires, more just, like I say, establishing a connection with somebody. And of course, Elenor herself spends a lot of the book in cahoots with Taliesin Ward, who's the town's deputy magistrate. Aiken struggles to maintain civility around Taliesin. They absolutely hate each other. Aiken, having sort of created the congregation at the Solaris with Elenor to worship the Amaron, and brought a lot more people from the town into the fold, and created that gathering and those shared ideas where people worship the Amaron and worship the idea of the restoration. He created all of that with Elenor. He rebuilt that church after it became derelict after the death of the three sisters who ran it, who raised Hessa, the orphan girl who Fenn encounters in the town. So he has a lot at stake. He has a lot of investment in that place, a lot of investment in maintaining and building upon the power base that he has created there. And that doesn't go unnoticed by the town's magistrate, Krell, who sees Aiken as a bit of a thorn in his side, somewhat of a simpleton. He's only a blacksmith, for want of a better phrase, and not educated enough, in a sense, or worldly wise enough to pose a true threat. But one thing Aiken does have is a great deal of loyalty with the people. He helped the town in a time of need when they were being threatened with attack from the Dune, and he helped. He was one of the blacksmiths who contributed to the war effort with the neighbouring barbarian clans. and helped them drive the Dune from their lands. And many credit him with saving the town, and he has, as a result, garnered a reputation. He is well loved by the people. His word carries weight. What he says matters. He has the ear of the people. He speaks for them. So when a murder is committed by supposedly a hideous darkling in cahoots with a little demon orphan girl, the Wasp, Aiken seizes upon the opportunity to try and further his agenda. With him running the place, there would be nothing to stop the town becoming an outpost, a true outpost of the Amarons' faith, a base of power for him in the south of the region. And he genuinely believes that he will be richly rewarded by the Amaron, richly rewarded when the restoration comes, that he will walk in the light with the Amaron and see his wife again. And if ever there was going to be a motivator for trying to grab power, it's one that plays on our emotions. So an interesting character to write, certainly, and interesting to create relationships between those he loves and those he hates. So yeah, I hope you enjoy reading him. So thank you for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm now officially on TikTok, so I'm now down with the. No, I won't say that. I'm now modern. I can't think of anything better to say about that one. Anyway, I'm on TikTok, Duncan Writes Fiction, at Duncan Writes Fiction. That's right, yes. So check that out. I'm on Instagram, at Duncan Writes Fiction. I'm on X, at Duncan Writes Fict, FCT. That, I'll never live that down. And yeah, watch this space. Hopefully I'm going to be getting the book off to copy edit very soon. I'm just speaking with someone now who believes they can help. And we're going to hopefully soon progress to starting to look at cover design for the book, pending interest from publishers, of course. So yeah, lots to look forward to. I've got a few other things I want to say about the world in general that I'm going to be touching on soon. And I'm actually also going to start delving into some of the other races and some of the other ideas that I've got banded around for the other books, just to kind of whet people's appetites and give them the reassurances that this is a far bigger story than the case of a simple murder in a small provincial town. It goes far beyond that if you're willing to sort of stick it out. And I hope that it's worthwhile in the end. So enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.